Hi Year 3, happy Wednesday. Time to get back to maths and to kickstart our maths. We are going to do a 5 a day. We do try and do 2 5 a days a week just to try and recap some of the things we've learnt before. And it just gets our brain whizzing in the morning with some mathematical work. So in the shared folder, the OneDrive folder, you should find, if I can find it for you, your 5 a day that looks like this. So it's got the date on for today. If you want to pause me now, no more than 10 minutes. Remember, you can do it on the sheet, in your books, just write the answers down, whichever way you do it. You've got 10 minutes, pause me, come back and we will do the answers together. Good luck. Well done if you managed to get that done. So let's whiz through the answers together. So the first one, circle the multiples of 10. Now remember, we know that a multiple is a number that comes from that 10 times from that times table. So this one is the 10 times table. So all of the numbers that we would find in the 10 times table, they are the multiples of 10. So you should have circled 30, you should have circled 60, you should have circled 90, and you also should have circled 0 because 0 is at the start of all of our times table. So circling all of those multiples of 10 there. These numbers obviously are not in the 10 times table. We can tell that because they don't end in a 0. So there you go. That's all of those. I'm going to move down here now to this one because it's a little bit like a two-step type of problem really, because you've got to do some multiplication and some adding here. So 4 times 4, you should have got 4, 8, 12, 16 there. And we're adding that to 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is also 16. So you could have used your 2 times table or your 8 times table there. And you have to add them together. Now you could have done this in the column addition like I'm doing here. So 6 and 6 is 12. Carry over the 1. 1, 2, 3 tens, making it 32. You could have also have partitioned those numbers and done 10 and 10 is 20. 6 and 6 is 12. That makes 32. So 20 and 10 is 30, add on extra 2. So the answer there is 32. Well done if you got that right. Moving across here, double 34. So again, you could do it in the same way. You could do your, excuse my wonky numbers. You could have done your column addition like so. 4 and 4 is 8. 3 tens and 3 tens is 6 tens, 60. 68, or you could have done 30 and 30 is 60. 4 and 4 is 8. You could have done that mentally. Okay, so another tick there if you got the answer, 68. Moving across over here, write an equivalent fraction to half. Now, we have covered this very briefly in class. Equivalent means the same as, okay, a fraction that is the same as half. So when I look at the fraction half, and I look at what those numbers are in relation to each other, 1 is doubled to make 2. Okay, 2 is halved to make 1. Okay, so 2 parts in a whole. So if I were to go over here and write 2 here, so here I had to double it to go to make my denominator. I had to half my denominator for my numerator. So if I doubled the 2, it would be 4, making 2 quarters. And these are the same. And this is the most common denominator for half. Sorry, let me just put that equals back in there. These are the same. Now imagine a cake, and you've got a cake and you split it in half and you eat half of it. And then imagine you've got the same cake. In fact, I can draw it here for you. There's one cake and you eat half of it. And then you've got another cake exactly the same size in quarters, and you eat 2 quarters of it. You're eating the same amount of cake, aren't you? So 1/2 and 2 quarters are the same. Now, when we're doing equivalent fractions, that little rule I've just shown you there, I had to double my top numerator for my denominator. So that means that if I did put 5 on the top and I doubled it like I did here and put 10 on the bottom, 5 is double 10. But 5 is half of 10, sorry. Double 5 is 10. Getting my words muddled up. Double 5 is 10. This is also an equivalent to half. If I put 20 on the top and doubled it and put 40 on the bottom, 20 40ths, that is equivalent to a half as well. If I put 3 on the numerator, the top, and doubled it and put 6 on the bottom, 3/6, that is equivalent to half as well. So you can see that this is the most common one, which I'm hoping that you got because that's what we were learning about. But there are other variations you could have had as well. So as long as your denominator, the numerator is half of the denominator, you have also written an equivalent fraction to 1/2. So give yourself a mark for that if you got it. If you didn't, don't worry. We are going to come back to fractions again later on in the year. Right, last one is another fraction one, but I think you should be able to do this one quite easily. It says colour 2/3 of this shape. So there are 3 parts in total to make the whole, but I only want 2 of them. So you should have shaded 1, 2, leaving 1 blank. Doesn't matter which ones you coloured, as long as there is 1 blank there, colouring 2/3 of the whole shape. Okay, so you can get yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks there. Give yourself a mark. Now, these do not have to be sent in to us, but we do like to see how you're getting on via email. So if you want to send them, that is wonderful. We're not giving full feedback or marking on lessons that we don't ask for, but we will reply to your emails. So it's nice to know that you're doing them and how you're getting on. So I'm going to stop the share there. We are moving on today to a different type of chart. We did pictograms for the last 2 days, which is something that you covered in year 2. We're now moving on to bar charts. So I'm just going to quickly go through a little PowerPoint with you. Today, we are going to interpret bar charts. So on Monday, we interpreted pictograms, then we drew our own. Today, we're going to interpret bar charts, and I guess you can probably guess what we're going to do tomorrow then. And interpret means to read it, understand it, and ask questions, answer questions on it. So let me just get one up here for you, for us to have a little go at together. Here we go. Remember, we also call handling data statistics. That's the mathematical term. Here we go. So a little warm up. So here is a bar chart here. You can see it is a block. Sometimes we call them block graphs. We've got the vertical line showing us our scale, our numbers at the side, and our horizontal line, a little bit like the pictogram, shows us what we are gathering the information on, the data on. So if we look at this one together, we've got a number of children. So it's obviously a bit of a vote from children. And we've got which was their favourite sport. And there's only 3 sports here: football, athletics, or swimming. Which one was their favourite? So how many children preferred athletics? So if I look down here at athletics and I go up here and I follow the line across, you can see on my scale, 7 children liked athletics. How many children said football was their favourite sport? So I go to football, I follow it up here to there, and I go across, and 12 children liked football. Last question, 30 children were meant to vote. Now, if you were on my Zoom call, Otters, on a Monday, we did a little pictogram activity together and we realised that somebody hadn't voted. So we can look at this information and we can see how many people all together made their vote by adding them up. So I've got 12, add on 7, that makes 19. Then I've got another 9 here, 19 and 9, making 28. So in total, when I add up all of those, I've got 28 children voting, but 30 children were meant to vote. So how many children didn't vote then? If there's 28 on here and 30 were meant to. Well done, 2 children didn't vote. So you can always check your information by adding them all up together to check that nobody was missed off. Well done. Here's another one here. This is asking children their favourite flavour crisps. I don't think there's enough choice on here. I can't see prawn cocktail, which is my favourite. They've just chosen 3 different ones. So ready salted, salt and vinegar, and cheese and onion, the 3 main flavours of crisps, I would say. But when I look at this one, children, the scale is different. It's not counting up in 1s this time, it's counting up in 5s. So when I look at a bar chart or a block graph and it counts up in 1s, on the scale, I think it tells me that there's the total amount isn't very high, like we did with our pictograms. But if you've got lots of people taking part in a vote, or you've got lots of items that you are sorting out into groups, you will have to change your scale so that otherwise you will have bar charts that are too high if you went up in 1s. This way you can put your information together in a smaller amount of space. So we're counting up in 5s here. So it says how many children like salt and vinegar. So if I go to salt and vinegar here and I count up in 5s, look, 5, 10, 15, 20. Oh, but look, it doesn't go to 25. So if I look on the side here, it goes from 0 to 5. That means that in between here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, the increments, a bit like when we did capacity on a jug and you had to look at the increments in between when we were measuring. So if I go back here now and I go across here, that would tell me it's between 20 and 25. So 21, 22, I think it's 23 children like salt and vinegar across there. 23. How many children liked cheese and onion flavour? So if I go on here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, but it's just a little bit past 30. So I think that must be 31 children, remember, because the increment's in between. How many more children like cheese and onion compared to ready salted? Now we know that 31 children like cheese and onion. And if we look at ready salted, there are 20 children that like ready salted. So we need to find the difference. So I need to go from 20 to 31 to find the difference between the two. So 20, add on 10 would make me 30. Add on another one would make me 31. So that's 10 and 1. 11 more children like ready salted than cheese and onion. So it's just a different way of recording the information there and different information to collect as well. So that is what a bar chart looks like. You today are going to have a go at interpreting some bar charts. So let me just stop the share on that one there for you. So today we are giving you your own bar chart to interpret. You've got to look at the information and you've got to answer some questions on it. So I'm going to show that to you now. Here we go. So today, move this out of the way, circles. You have got some information here on a bar chart, which is to do with the number of ice creams that were sold. And if I look at the scale on the side, it's counting up in ones. So you've got to look at the information there. And then you've got some questions to answer here. Now, if you've printed this sheet off, that's wonderful. You can write it on the sheet. Or if you want to just write the numbers in your book and write the answers next to that as well, that is fine. Just make sure you've got your date on the top of there and our Walt to interpret bar charts. So there's your circles one there. Squares, you have got the same, but your questions are slightly different. So again, looking at the information there and answering the questions on your sheet. Hexagons, you have got the same thing to do, but your information is slightly different. You are looking at the amount of money raised for charity in each year group in a school. So you can see reception here. There's nothing to represent, which means they didn't raise any money. And your scale is going up in tens on the side there. So answering all of those questions based on that bar chart today. You can see the Walt at the top to interpret information from a bar graph. When you have finished that, children, there are two things we would like you to do as an extension and as an extra. And they are interactive because we realise that you can do things on worksheets, but we don't want you to do too many things on worksheets either. So we're going to go on to Education City first. Of course, I've got to find it now if I can. Here we go, into your city, and you'll find the handling data. If I go into it here so you can see it. The handling data folder, here it is there. You should be able to access that. And you have already completed the summer fair, which is your pictogram work. And if you scored 80% now, this bit should be unlocked. So once you've finished your worksheet, come on to Speedy Pete and have a go at Speedy Pete. Now, Speedy Pete will go through bar charts a bit with you, and then there's some questions for you to answer on bar charts. I think there are about 9 questions. And remember that we are checking your scores on this. And again, you've got to get 80% to open up the next part of our Education City activities we've set you. So when you press start, there'll be some information and then some questions for you to answer. So that's one little thing to do after you've done your worksheet. We would then like you to go into Purple Mash. Let me come away from this. And you've got here a to-do, which will open up for you, ready for your lesson. So you log in, you find your to-dos, and it is another little quiz based on interpreting block graphs. And you press play, and then there'll be some questions for you to answer, and you answer in the box there, and we can see your scores as well on there. And we are trying to give you some feedback on Purple Mash as well as on Education City. So quite a lot for you to get on with today. Let me see if I can find my button. There's lots of buttons for me to press. So Do your worksheet at looking at the little bar chart and answer the questions. Then go on to Education City to do Speedy Pete, and then go on to Purple Mash to do your little quiz on there as well. And we can see all your scores. So remember, you are interpreting, that means understanding bar charts today, and making sure you look very carefully at the scales on the side of your bar charts. Good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow.